If you want massive shoulders, you need to know 3 things. First is to understand that the shoulders are made up of 3 heads. Many people know this, but not many people train in a manner that results in equal development of all 3 heads. You want to make sure you're distributing the right amount of volume for each head, or you'll likely end up with disproportionate shoulder development, like so many people do. Second, you want to make sure to pick the right exercises to develop the specific head you're targeting. Many people think that you can just hit an overhead press and your shoulders will grow as a whole. That's not necessarily true. Third, you want to use the appropriate volume for the exercises you're performing. It's not as simple as doing 10 to 20 sets per week for that muscle, especially when we're talking about shoulders that have lots of overlap on chest pressing days and back pulling days. So let's jump into the 3 heads of the shoulder. You have the front delts, which are worked virtually in all pressing movements. That's shoulder pressing with barbell and dumbbell exercises, but they're also heavily involved in all chest pressing exercises. So much that incline presses can take care of a large majority of front delt work needed for many people. Unless your front delts is a glaring weakness, you don't necessarily need to do a ton of direct front delt pressing, provided you're already performing a moderate volume of flat and incline pressing. Picking even just 1 to 2 exercises for front delt work is usually plenty. These are exercises that you should focus on heavy progression and your big basic compound lifts. I personally love high incline barbell and dumbbell presses, but traditional overhead press, dumbbell shoulder press, and even Arnold press are great here. But now, if you're only doing this, you're going to develop some great front delts, but you're not going to have that fully capped shoulder that most people look for. Believe it or not, that's all side and rear delts. And the rear delts are even more important here than people think. So after you cover your shoulder press training, leave plenty of room in your training for side and bent over lateral raises. This will target those often neglected side and rear heads of the delts. But don't be confused. These are not to be treated like presses, where you keep focusing on progressive overload over time. I don't care how strong you are. There's almost no need to go past 50-pound dumbbells on lateral raises. Even if you can do so with strict form, you're not necessarily going to keep growing bigger delts this way, as isolation exercises, and laterals specifically, are just not the best movements to chase strength personal records on. These exercises are also much less fatiguing overall, so a better option is to focus on solid quality reps, hitting as much volume as needed, and driving lots of blood flow into the muscles. That doesn't mean training light and easy because you're not chasing weight. Each set should count and be a true working set, but you should let volume be the driver of muscle growth here. And rear delts should be treated in a similar manner. By performing your lateral raises bent over, you'll now emphasize the tension on the rear delts instead of the side. I personally like to perform my lateral raises slightly bent over on an incline bench. This slight bend forward hits the side delts just a bit harder by removing the assistance you would get from the front delts when done fully upright. But if you want to really hammer the rear delts, just set the incline even lower until you're almost fully bent over. Reverse pec deck, face pulls, and reverse cable flies, they're also all excellent movements here, and they should be included as well. Bottom line, hit those heavy pressing exercises hard. Then, make sure not to neglect the side and the rear delts. The exercise to target these muscles directly will likely all be isolation movements, so focus on the pump here. And don't be afraid to hammer the volume within reason if needed, as no one's ever needed a week off from the gym after a hard rear delt workout. And if you want the exact training programs that I recommend to build muscle using proven old school bodybuilding methods, check out all my old school mass gain programs down below. And as always, if you want to see more of the best original bodybuilding content just like this, make sure to hit subscribe.